We can use our understanding of what the focus and directrix of a parabola are, and this formula, A equals 1 over 4c, to solve some question types that we actually didn't even really know existed prior to this. One type of question is one that gives you the focus and the directrix of a parabola and asks you to find the equation of that parabola in some form. And a lot of times when we get these questions, it's good to just start with a quick sketch just so we can kind of see what's going on. So this question is saying we have a point at 1, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And we have a directrix at y equals 5. So that would be there. And we'll draw, it's y equals 5. It's a horizontal line. So there's our directrix. And remember that a focus and a directrix, those define any particular parabola. And so we can actually get a general sense of what's going on here. It's something like that. It goes around the focus, goes in between the focus and directrix, and then back. So this is a vertical parabola that opens down. And that just gives us an idea of what's going on. This also shows us that if we want to get the coordinates of the vertex, which let me mark this here. So here's the vertex of the parabola. And then C is the distance from there to there, or the distance from there to there, from the vertex to the focus or the vertex to the directrix. And well, we can tell a couple of things from this. If the focus is at 4, the directrix is at 5, the vertex is going to be right in between those two. It's going to have an x coordinate of 1. It's going to be right above that focus. And it's going to have a y coordinate of 4.5, right in between the focus and the directrix. So we already know the vertex. And we can tell either from these or from this that the distance from the vertex to the directrix or the vertex to the focus, that thing we call C, that distance is 1/2, from 4.5 to 4, or from 4.5 to 5. So we know C is 1/2. And once we know C, we can use this formula that A equals 1 over 4C. So that would be 1 over 2, and that's A, 1 over 2. So from that, from the vertex and from knowing the A value, that's actually all we need to write the equation of this parabola. So there's a few things we need to incorporate. It's a vertical one, so it's y equals, we'll actually see a horizontal one or a couple of horizontal ones coming up. It opens downward. Parabolas that open downward start with a negative sign. A is always considered a, pardon me, not A, C is always considered a positive number. And A is generally considered a positive number, but because we know that this opens downward, pardon me, we know there's a negative sign in front. So A is 1/2, and then we're just following vertex form here. X minus 1, which is the x coordinate of the vertex, squared, plus 4.5, which is the y coordinate. And so that right there is the equation of the parabola that is also defined by this focus and this directrix. So let's try this with another set of a focus and a directrix here. And again, we'll just do a quick graph to see what's going on. So we've got a focus at -2, 1. So that's there. And we have a directrix at x equals -2.5. So that was -2, that's -3. And so we'll have a directrix at -2.5. And what we can see is a couple things here. First, that this is going to be a horizontal parabola because this directrix is here. And so the parabola has to go, well, I kind of missed there. It has to go between those and then something like that. So it's going to be horizontal. It's going to open to the right. And remember, when we're talking about horizontal things, this is the positive direction, this is the negative direction. So this still opens in the positive direction. But because it's horizontal, now we're used to working with vertical ones that are like y equals x squared. A horizontal one, as you might guess, is going to be x equals y squared. That's going to be its basic format. So we know that's going to be the format here. We can tell what the vertex is. So the vertex is going to be right there. The y coordinate is 1. It's going to be the same as the focus right across from it. And the x coordinate is going to be right in between the focus and the directrix. So that would be minus 2.25 or minus 2.25, just halfway between this focus at x equals -2 and this directrix at x equals -2.5. Right in between them is -2.25 or 2.25. So that's the vertex. We can tell now the distance from the vertex to the directrix or the vertex to the focus is 0.25 or 1/4. And that's what we call C, the distance between the vertex and either the focus or the directrix. So I can put either of those there. And given C, we can now find A. A equals 1/4C. So A equals 1/4 times, I'll use 1/4 for this. So A equals 1/1 is just 1. Okay. And we now have the things that we need to make an equation. This is, remember, in the form x equals y squared. So it's going to start x equals. Now, this could get a little bit tricky because now, although we're used to doing x minus, this is now y minus. So we're looking at the y coordinate here. Y minus 1 squared. And then we're used to this being y, but now it's the x minus 2.25. And we can actually relate this to the way that we're used to doing parabolas. So this is x equals. So this is saying not that it's down by 2.25, but that it's left by 2.25, which it is. There's the vertex right there. And this would be like that. And sure enough, it is shifted up by 1. So working with horizontal parabolas, it's the same stuff as vertical parabolas, except everything is flipped. Wherever you used to see a y, now you see an x, and vice versa. Let's try one other type, which is the reverse. We're given an equation, and we need to find the focus and the directrix. And the first thing that we would really do with this is we already know A. It's just sitting right there. So we might as well use it. A equals 1/4C. And we could cross multiply, or we could just kind of do it visually. I'll cross multiply. We get 4C equals 2, C equals 2/4 or 1/2. Okay. So in order to find where the focus and directrix are, we need the vertex of this parabola. And you might recall the formula that we use to find the vertex is x equals -b/2a. So we plug that in here. That's negative, b is -3 over 2, and a is 1/2. So that would be 3/1 is just 3. And then we would find the y coordinate by plugging this into the original function. So we would get y equals 1/2 3 squared minus 3 times 3. That was my cat knocking something off the counter. That was Marge. And plus 9.5. Okay, so we've got, let's do a little arithmetic here. 9 times 1/2 is 4.5 minus 9 plus 9.5. So -4.5 plus 9.5 gives us 5 total, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it does. Okay. So we have the vertex now. The vertex is at 3, 5. And again, a quick sketch here. This is a vertical parabola. It's got a vertex there. And we do this just so we know that the focus is going to be a little bit up and the directrix is going to be a little bit down. And so now we can actually find what those are. We have C, the distance from the vertex to each of those things. So let's do the focus first. It is half a unit up from the vertex. So the focus is going to be at 3 and half a unit up, so 5.5. The directrix is going to be half a unit, that C value, down from the vertex. So from 5, it's going to be at 4.5. So from this original equation, we found C, we found the vertex, and then that allowed us to find, along with a little sketch, the focus and directrix. Let's do one more of those, and we're going to go back to doing, you can see this is in the form x equals y squared. This is going to be a horizontal parabola, and because it has a negative there, remember, negative for a horizontal parabola means opening left. It's going to be that shape when we eventually try to graph it. So let's do what we did on the last one to find the vertex. Now, remember when they're horizontal, sort of everything is a little backwards. So we're used to doing x equals negative b over 2a, but now it's going to be y equals negative b over 2a because everything is kind of flipped around a little bit. So y equals negative, okay, b is -1, negative b over 2, and a is -1/4. Okay, equals 1 over -2/4. And, this is complicated enough that I'm even going to go, pretty step by step with this. Equals -2. Okay, so that's the y coordinate of our vertex. And again, everything's backwards here. We're going to plug that in to find the x value. So x equals -1/4 y squared minus y minus 2. There are a lot of negatives in this question. Okay, -1/4 times 4 plus 2 minus 2. Well, that actually helps. Those two things will cancel out right there, the +2 and the -2, and we'll just get -1. Okay, so we have our vertex is at -1, -2. And now's a good time to make a quick sketch of it. So we'll go x is -1, y is -2. That's the vertex. Remember, this is horizontal because it's x equals y squared, and it opens to the left because it's negative. So it's going to look something like that, which means that the focus is going to be a little bit to the left of the vertex, and the directrix is going to be a vertical line a little bit right of the vertex. The other thing that we can do right now, which we also could have done right at the beginning, is to find C, because we know A is -1/4. So we can put in A equals 1 over 4C. We know A is -1/4, so we'll just write that here. A equals 1 over 4C. And we can probably tell, but we'll write it out just to make sure. Cross multiply, -4C equals 4. So to be clear on that, if there's a negative sign here, I'm going to treat it like it's up here. So I got -4C equals 4, C equals -1. And remember that, really, I could have put A equals 1/4. We don't really count that negative there. I probably shouldn't have put this there. But either way, C is always considered a positive number. It's a distance. It's the distance from here to there, and it's the distance from here to there. So C is, I really should just put C equals 1. And since we have the vertex, and let me label that, that's the vertex. Since we have the vertex, we can go c equals 1. So 1 to the left of that will be the focus. 1 to the left of this is -2, -2. And then the directrix will be 1 to the right. And as it turns out, so if we start here and go 1 to the right, the directrix is actually right on that y-axis at x equals 0. So plenty of math going on that one, and a little bit trickier because we're not used to dealing with x equals y squared. But of course, parabolas can go in any number of different directions. And really the two, well, a few keys here. Remembering stuff from the first time that we did parabolas and quadratics, like the vertex x equals -b/2a. And our key formula here, a equals 1/4c. And then once we have the vertex and a general idea of how things look, drawing a diagram really helps, just so you can see, oh, okay, the focus is to the left and the directrix is to the right, or whatever it is. That little diagram will just make things a lot clearer as you try to figure out which things go where.